and my guess is price point wise, it will not be at the same price point as the ROG Ally X, for example, or the GPD Win 4. 1.8 gigs, if we were to compare this to a computer, would be the same power as a MacBook Air from 2013. Solid Mind here, and today we are asking the question, should you buy the Retroid Pocket 3? Retroid. I don't know if I like that names. Retroid. Anyway, let's find out. Should you buy it? I don't know. My first thoughts is no, but let's see.
On this. Before we go any further, I do want to address the elephant in the room. There's definitely been some controversy behind the Retroid Pocket 3. This handheld was actually supposed to be released in November 2021, but I do want to draw your attention to Taki Udon's video.
So yeah, this is a slightly older video. And I guess the main aim is to see in this era of, the more recent handhelds, does this slightly older one that's a little bit cheaper still play?
Link for it will be in the description, but basically he's been testing the Retroid Pocket 3 since 2020. He's got a ton of hours into the handheld, he's given the company lots of feedback, but a couple weeks before this was supposed to launch in November 2021, he found an issue with the screen. So it came down to the LCD driver, where if you go to 30% brightness, the screen would flicker uncontrollably. That they would go back and replace that driver.
Okay, let's go back a little bit. So yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Nobody wants to play a game and then the screen starts to flicker, honestly.
They did a mass production run using that driver chip, and they told them that they would go back and replace it, but there is a big chance that some people are going to receive some of these units with the older driver chip that gives you that issue. And really, when it comes down to it, they should have went through and replaced that driver chip in every single one of them, and we're not exactly sure if they did.
I will say this, it actually looks pretty retro. I know it's called Retroid, so it looks a little bit more like a retro, handheld unit. Like if you put this in like a retro store, it would kind of make sense. So the way the buttons are, the way the color is, that like off gray type of look. It does have USB-C micro, or headphone jack. It has the analog D-pads, all the fun stuff. So it has what you need, really. I guess the price point will determine if it's worth buying or not.
He also voiced some concerns about software bugs that he found, and the company claimed that they're going to fix these in an OTA update. So I would...
Looking at the back, I don't like that. Is that mini HDMI or is that mini USB? Because in the front it does have USB-C. If we go back a little bit, you can clearly see that here on the front. Where are you? Here on the front, it does have USB-C. Right there.
Video. Link for it will be in the description, but basically he's been testing the Retroid Pocket 3 since 2020. He's got a ton of hours into the handheld. He's given the company...
Yeah, see that? That's USB-C. You can tell by the way that it's an oval type of shape. Whereas the other side is more... I think it's the old mini USB, which is not the best, to be honest.
With this unit, and so far I'm actually really enjoying it. Now I will admit that most of the stuff that I've been using on this is game streaming, so playing...
Alright, let's go back real quick to see. So this is running on Android, which means that power is not the main use case for this. So a lot of the ROG Allies, the Legion Goes, the Neo Neos, they run on Windows, which means that they can run on much faster processors. It also means that they're basically PCs, which means that the type of games you can get are a little bit more varied because you can run Steam on them. Yes, you can run Steam also on Android as well, but this means that this is more for emulation. And Android games are not as powerful as PC games. So this already puts it down more in the, emulation, light playing type of, area, not really the heavy gaming Steam account, PC handheld area. This is more of like an emulation device from what I can see so far.
Unit, and so far I'm actually really enjoying it. Now I will admit that most of the stuff that I've been using on this is game streaming, so playing PC games from my main PC or my PS5, GeForce Now, or xCloud on this unit. But we will be taking...
That makes sense. I guess if this was maybe a more powerful handheld, you can then play those on your physical handheld. But because this is more of an Android, the streaming does make sense.
Taking a look at some native Android gaming and emulation, because after all, this is touted as a Retroid emulation handheld.
I thought so. The hardware and the power that it's going to be using is definitely not designed to run a PC on this. So this does make sense, and my guess is price point wise, it will not be at the same price point as the ROG Ally X, for example, or the GP Win 4.
When I put my pre-order in, there wasn't much information about the CPU they're using here, or if they were using conductive pads or dome style behind the D-pad and the buttons, but it looks like this is actually using the same exact CPU as the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus. So we've got the Unisoc Tiger T310 Quad.
Okay, it's good to know in terms of what it has, but let's see specs wise. What are we looking at? Okay. So we have 3 gigs of RAM. That's pretty low. Even my phone, which is from 2020, it's got, I think, 8 gigs of RAM. So that says a little bit about what this 1.8 gigs. 1.8 gigs, if we were to compare this to a computer, would be the same power as a MacBook Air from 2013. That's the type of power this has. It's still like enough to play what you need, but it's not too bad. The memory is tiny. 32 gigs of memory isn't the best. I think my system on my own phone can probably use about 15 just by itself. So I guess if it's for gaming, then having the micro SD slot makes a lot more sense to get the price point down. 16:9 IPS. It's not even 1080p. It's not even 720. Is that 720? Yeah. It's below 1080, which actually, is it 1080? 1080 is 1920 by 1080. That's what 1080 would be. This is not 1920 by 1080, so it's all right. 60 FPS is fine. Android 11 is fine, and the price point makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. The battery is about the same size as some decent phones, so on low brightness, I'm sure this can last a long time, because the more powerful it is, the more it will chew up battery. So my prediction is that based upon the battery that this has and the fact that the power is very, very low, that this can last a very long time. And price point wise, it looks alright. Let's finish this video up a little bit, and then we can make a decision to say if you should buy it or not.
Was Gran Turismo 4. Now don't get me wrong, there will be some RPGs and 2D games that'll probably run at full speed with the PS2 emulator on this device, but I wouldn't run out and buy one of these specifically for PS2, 3DS, GameCube, or Wii. And again, I will admit, I'm sure there's some games that...
Okay, let's just find out how much this costs, and then we'll go from there. How much does this cost? Because I know it's in dollars. $125. Okay, so price point wise, it makes sense. SD card as well makes sense. So here's a question. Should you guys get this? I'm gonna lean on no. For the price point, if you want emulation devices, there's better and cheaper alternatives that are more looking retro than these and can play. So I guess it depends. Okay, so if you want to get like PlayStation type of PS1, PS2 emulation, this makes sense. If you want more 1990s, 1980s emulation, there's cheaper and better handhelds you could use. in my viewpoint, I don't see the point of you getting this. If you just double the spend, you can get slightly better handhelds that can run on Windows, which means that you can actually, instead of streaming off a PC, you can play the games on the handheld. That's my viewpoint. What do you guys think? Should you guys buy the Retroid Pocket? I think not, but leave a comment down below. Do you have it? Are you gonna buy it? Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.